Hi everybody, this is Howard the Teaserking, just back from Vegas. I take the red eye on the way home and it's pretty exhausting, but you get a good night's sleep on the plane because you're just so tired. Very interesting trip. I don't know, I don't want to get too much into it, but basically I gave a lot of people my picks and lure of getting my name out, which is what I try to do when I go there. So any feedback you can leave here would be appreciated, as I can copy that into Facebook and certain areas to prove my worth. Let's talk about the playoffs and the bowl games that are remaining. I left off. Let's go to New Year's Eve. I remember giving LSU as I was analyzing Texas Tech as Western Kentucky, and that turned out pretty good. Wisconsin USC. USC's laying 3.5 over under a 50. I like Wisconsin at 9.5. Judging by what's happening, the good defensive teams, the running teams usually have a big advantage here because you kind of lose your momentum. You have to get back into football shape. I mean, these bowls are the stupidest things I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, could you imagine the NFL? Here's week 17. Okay, we're done. All right, everybody take a month off, and we'll have a real good playoffs. I mean, they have it right. They go right into it. So this whole bowl system is just stupid. They need to play the games later, so there's maybe a week off and then go to the bowls. But this is just stupid. Anyway, I like the dog. I think it'll be low scoring. Over under a 50. Wisconsin's going to run it down their throats. Their defense will be good. They'll put pressure. When you see passing teams play, the key is if you get pressure on the quarterback like LSU did last night to Texas Tech. Quarterback can't throw, so I don't care how good an offense it is. If you have a good defense, and LSU has a good defense, and you can see the good defensive teams, you get pressure on the quarterback. I don't care, what you do. You're not gonna, it's gonna be all you can to get the ball out. So that's really the nemesis of the good offensive teams. That's why I normally lock the Bowling Green when they're playing Tulane or Eastern Michigan, where they really don't put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Because once these teams have the ability to throw, they'll eat you alive. But in the bowl games, you get better defenses. But anyway, I like Wisconsin at 9.5 there. Michigan and Florida. Michigan laying 4.5. Over under about 40. I think Michigan wins this game by at least 10 points. I think they have the better offense. I think they got the better defense. I think they have the better coach, better team, better talent. Florida's got a good defense. But as you saw, when Florida ran into Florida State and Florida ran into Alabama, they didn't even move the ball. I mean, so I don't see Michigan will move the ball. Excuse me. Still fighting this cold. Michigan moved the ball very well on Michigan State. And they moved the ball a little bit on Ohio State. Both real talented defenses. I don't think Michigan will have a problem moving the ball. Florida will. Michigan's defense should be very healthy. And they still remember losing to Ohio State by 100 points. So they're going to be very focused to win this game. And Harbaugh does not like to lose these type of games. The quarterback's got the system down. He's healthy. He'll play. Smith, the running back, will play. I mean, they get the defense back. I look for Michigan to come out and just dominate this game. Over under 40. I don't know. Michigan went from an under team. Early in the year, this would be a lock under. But now I'm not so sure. I think Michigan can score probably in the mid-20s. Florida will probably get some scores. So I don't love the under as much as I did earlier in the year. Michigan was one of these teams that flipped from under to over, and as they got comfortable with Harbaugh's offense, they can score. He knows how to score. So I like Michigan getting a point or two. Ohio State laying 6.5 to Notre Dame. Over under 55. I really like the over in this game. Notre Dame finds a way to score. Ohio State, I think they're going to play this game with really pissed off. I think they're mad they didn't get into the playoff. It's Boza and Elliott, their last game. I just look for them to run Elliott up the middle like they did against Alabama last year, and he'll put up 200 yards. Notre Dame does have a knack to score, and I use the Stanford game as the barometer here. Notre Dame played Stanford at Stanford and lost 32-30 or 34-32. Apologize if I don't know the score exactly. I know they're in the 30s, and I know they lost by 2. And my point is, if they played Stanford to a 60, they'll score on Ohio State. Now, we're looking at an over-under of 56. So you just go over 50. Well, what's 50? Basically 28-24 is 50. And I really can't imagine Ohio State doesn't get into the 40s here. And I can't imagine Notre Dame doesn't get into the 30s here. Ohio State's defense is not, it's not an Alabama defense. It's not a Michigan State or an Iowa defense. And for that point, I just find that, I just think that Notre Dame will get into the upper 20s. I mean, I like Brian Kelly. I liked him when he was at Grand Valley State, and he'd won all the titles, and he was good at Central. He always knew how to score, and he'll score on Ohio State. They're not going to shut him out. Ohio State doesn't have that type of defense. But what they showed me against Michigan is when Ohio State gets pissed, they score. And at worst case, if Ohio State does the Michigan and puts up a 44, Notre Dame's going to score 14. That gets you 58. Anyway, I look at this game. If Ohio State blows them out, it's going over 50. If it's like a Stanford game in the 30s for each team, it's over 30. Notre Dame will score at least 20 in this game, and Ohio State probably in the 40s. Notre Dame's not going to stop Ohio State here. Not when Barrett's the quarterback. He's a much better quarterback for that system. And that was Urban Meyer's problem. He tried to plug the kid had a good game against Alabama because of the matchup, where a good passing quarterback kills Alabama. And then you look at the other way around, where Barrett's much better with his option attack. So I just think Barrett's the proper quarterback. They score a lot more with Barrett. The over-under should be in the 60s here. It's only 56. It started 54. I bet it in Vegas. I'm going over 50. And that's how I look at it. So Ohio State probably wins the game. Could be close. Could be a blowout. I don't know. Again, the running team seemed to have an advantage. As we watched Baylor put up 1,000 yards yesterday against North Carolina, just unbelievable. I mean, normally that would have been a lock over, but how could you lock over without a quarterback? And to give Baylor's coach credit, he said, well, what do I have? That's when you tell a really great coach. Don Shula was a great coach because he took what he had, and he ran with Zonka, and then when he had Marino, he threw the ball. He said, what do I got, and this is what I'm going to run. He didn't say, this is what I'm going to run, and try to fit the pieces in. He had the pieces, and he fit the offense around the pieces. That's why he was successful and a great coach. Jimmy Johnson had it molded where I need the power runner, and I need the quarterback, and I'm going to throw, I'm going to be balanced, I'm going to play good defense. He had the formula. And what you have here is basically the formula. They know, he knows what he's doing with it. So definitely Uh, Definitely like Ohio State here. Like I said, it for his offense, Barrett is perfect. He'll score a lot. I can't imagine this game not getting into the 70s, and the line's just too low here. Stanford Lane 7 to Iowa. It's down to 6.5 actually. Over under about 53. At first, I liked this game under because of Iowa's defense and Stanford's defense. But the more I studied Stanford, and maybe it's just a Pac-12 thing, they'd score 30, 40 points a game. They scored on Oregon 30, 40 points. USC was a 40. USC's got decent defense. So the more I studied it, the more I said to myself, well, Stanford's really not that much of an under team. Iowa, except for the Michigan State game, they could score. You know, they're tough because you don't know who they are until they finally played Michigan State, and they showed you they have a great defense. And they have a decent offense, and they run the ball, but it's their defense. So that's why I initially liked the under. But I quickly thought, no, I like the dog in this game. I like Iowa in the 13. I think I think Iowa can easily win this game. I would play money line on it. Definitely take Iowa in the 13. Stanford's never going to has not seen a defense like this, and that's why you had to watch Iowa. And against Michigan State, now I know Cook was a little hurt. They showed defense, and yeah, you can power run and take a 20-play drive like Michigan State did. And look what, they didn't get receivers open. Iowa's secondary is unbelievable, and their defense is great. Stanford's going to have a real hard time scoring a lot here. Iowa can score. Their quarterback's decent. They can run the ball. They're not going to turn it over. I think they get turnovers. I just think this will be a real close game. Iowa can easily win it. Take the 13 or 12.5 here. I think it's the best way to go in this. Ole Miss, lane 7 to Oak State. Over under 68. After looking at it, I kind of like the over here, going over 62. Oak State's quarterback should be playing. Mississippi's got Kelly's kid, or his nephew, who put up a lot of points. I think this game's prime for 100. Oak State should score on Ole Miss, but Ole Miss should score on Oak State. Very volatile to try to take Ole Miss laying 1 or Oak State plus the 13. You don't really know the way the game's going to go, but you know there's going to be a lot of points because Oak State can score with their quarterback and can't stop the wind. So Ole Miss will put up at least in the 40s. Oak State should get in the 40s also. We only need 62. Go over with Ole Miss, Oak State. Penn State, Georgia, over under 41, it looks like, or 42. Georgia's favored by 6.5. Another double. I like Penn State in 12.5, and I like the under 47. Georgia can't score. They have no quarterback. Their defense is average. Penn State can't score. They got a good defense. I'm beginning to think their coach is very weak. The quarterback's overrated. I don't see why he's good. He was good with the other coach who went on to the Houston Texans because of the system. Everybody talks about the system, so they think he's great. They switch systems. The guy's terrible. This is definitely a low-scoring game. First team to 20 wins. But I don't see how Georgia blows them out. That's not going to happen here. Penn State's defense good enough to keep it close. This should be a 3-point game. Take Penn State in the 12.5. Go under. Oregon, TCU. This is an interesting game. It's strange because both teams are favored by 1. I was in the Venetian. TCU is a 1.5 point favorite. I teased Oregon 7.5. I'm in Caesars. The game's even, so I didn't play that. Over under of 78. Well, as long as TCU's got their quarterback, they're going to score. Boykin scores. We all know Oregon, with their quarterback, they score. TCU's defense is a lot better than Oregon's. But I think Oregon definitely puts up 40 here. TCU definitely goes over 40. That's at least an 80, 78 down to 72. I would think TCU gets most of their defense back. And, you've got to understand when these teams get injuries and then the guys come back, it's a different team. So you got to understand why they look bad. So therefore, I think if you can get a dog in the game, you take the dog. I think it'll be a close score, but I think it'll be high scoring. I think probably one team gets in the 50s, the others in the 40s. I think this just goes up and down the field. You got 78 go over 72. And that's really what I like about my new analytical method of the over/under that I never really paid that much attention to in college. But I'll tell you, one thing that really makes me feel good about it, I mean, I look at the game four ways. Now, do I want the team A, team B, over or under? But the other thing is, when you go to Vegas and you got all these cards, you can't play over-unders in college on the card. They'll give you a TCU and Oregon +6, +6, but there's no over-under, which tells me they're afraid of college over-unders if they don't put them on the card. I wanted to play the card where I play Ohio State over. Couldn't. I wanted to, Ole Miss over. No, I got to play either Ohio State or Ole Miss or Notre Dame. So it tells me they don't want it bet because they must lose at it. So therefore, I'm really beginning to get into these over-unders more. So far, I don't think I've missed an over-under in my bowl picks. No, I missed one. I missed the Washington State-Miami, which got a very, snowy, cold day in Texas. Go figure that out. And they went to an under. Outside of that game, everything else, I had Indy and Duke over. I had UCLA, Nebraska over. What else? North Carolina, Baylor over. And then I've got the Ohio State over. You can probably play Iowa under, Mississippi over, Penn State under, Oregon over. And it's a better way to play the game because let's say you have Stanford, Iowa, you have Stanford lane one. Here's Iowa, got the lead. You're going, oh shit, I'm going to lose. But it's a low-scoring game. Or, like yesterday, LSU, Texas Tech. Okay, I didn't know if it would go over or not because I knew Fournette was going to run through them like butter. And I didn't, I looked at it as a Western Kentucky. So, yeah, it did go over. But like UCLA, Nebraska, instead of taking UCLA even, which I thought they would win, I said the over's better because Nebraska can score a lot. And when Nebraska wins 37-29, I don't care. I didn't lose with the UCLA. I won with the over. So the over, if you load the teams, and it's really basic. If you have a really good quarterback and an average defense, you're probably going to be an over team when you play another really good quarterback. So when UCLA, who can score with Rosen, they have an average defense against Nebraska with an average defense and a really good quarterback. The quarterback's the key to the over-under. If you have a really good quarterback, you're going over. So like Penn State, Georgia, neither team's got a good quarterback. They both have decent defenses. They both run the ball. And there's no way that's going over. So you just look at the team. If they have a really good quarterback, now Baylor or North Carolina is the exception because Baylor ran for 7,000 yards yesterday. But who knew that? That was such a hidden because Baylor throws the ball all over the field. If Baylor would just stick to this running, they'd never lose because you couldn't beat them because you couldn't. North Carolina had 11 in the box. They couldn't stop the run. I mean, that was incredible. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the playoff on another video right now. So this is the remaining New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and a little bit past bowl games. I have 2 locks in the bowls going. Very, very strong. I highly encourage you to buy. If you buy no locks from me, if you do not believe my record, I am telling you this is the week to buy this. This will pay for your $100 lock. Very strong. two very bad lines that I'm noticing and taking full advantage of. I pounded these games in Vegas over and over and over. 2-team teasers, 3-team teasers. Um, I'd win a few hundred at poker. It went right on these games. So I've hit these games very, very hard, but definitely missed lines here, and I'm taking full advantage of them. So I definitely, buy these locks. I do have a pro lock going on Sunday. Very good. I did miss my lock. Carolina laying 1 to Atlanta lost, and they just didn't score. They didn't play. They didn't care. I never seen a team who needs it for the 1 seed in the home field so they can rest this week not play. I mean, they'd go back and I'm sure they've seen a blitz in the last 16 weeks. And Cam Newton looked terrible. Their offense looked terrible. Their defense couldn't stop the short pass. Where's that been for Atlanta? See, that really frustrates me when a team like Atlanta, where was this for the last 12 weeks? You can beat Carolina and you lose to Tampa and you lose to all these crap teams that you've been losing to. That's a bad coach, and as far as I'm concerned, because if you can get up for Carolina, why aren't you getting up for St. Louis, and why aren't you getting up for Tampa and New Orleans? I mean, they should kill New Orleans if they would play with the same intensity. The problem is they won't. They'll probably be flat because they just beat Carolina, but that's the problem. Anyway, so it just tells you a lot about the coach. But anyway, that one lost, but we'll get them back this week. 45-5 in my locks. That's 90%. And I had an argument with a guy at Caesars. We're talking about it, and I'm telling him I'm 45-5 in my locks. He says, well, that doesn't mean anything. I'd rather see it if you put percentage in. And I said, does it really matter if I put percentage versus saying I'm 45-5 in my locks? And so I couldn't understand them why that mattered. If you can't see 45-5 as impressive, because if I'm 90%, I really could be 9-1. I think it's more impressive if I'm 45-5 than 9-1, because 9-1 is you're not playing that much, but 45-5, that's 50 games. I've hit 45 of them. That's a hell of a lot more impressive than 9-1 or the percentage. So I don't know. Please let me know. Give me feedback if you think you'd rather see 90% over 45-5. Let me know, and I'll be happy to change it. I used to do percentage. Now I do dollar amount, and I show the amount I'm up, and I show, here I am. I'm showing my history. I don't know what else to do. I've just been red hot. I'm doing things that are impossible. Nobody can go 45-5 on their locks, and yet I'm trying to defend myself, going, it's real. Here's my history. So it's just it's fascinating how people really don't trust, and you got to prove it to them, and even when you prove it, well, yeah, but I don't know. It's just insane. Some people are. Anyway, good luck, Happy New Year, and I'm going to post the playoff right now. So have a great day, have a great weekend. Good luck on these games. Again, I have 2 very strong college bowl locks going. Iowa's a very strong game also, as is Michigan, the Mississippi over. So you can make money right there. But I've got 2 big locks that for the $100, you can bet $1,000 on them. I mean, it's going to pay for the lock itself. Okay, everybody, Happy New Year. www.teaserking.com. Have a great holiday. I appreciate you watching the video.